I don't know if I've ever been more off a player than this man right here. Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Durag D, and I'm back at it again with another episode of Dudes in Love with Football, the DILF podcast, man. Thank you for joining me. Brown cows do not make chocolate milk. I know you saw the title, you clicked on the video. I got my top 50 wide receivers in fantasy this year, man. The receiver position, by far the deepest in football. I mean, like I said, I got 50 names for you guys. And there were guys I left off that I feel bad about leaving off. So let's get straight into it. Waste no more time. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, send it to your friend, all that good stuff. Now, number one, Ja'Marr Chase. Ja'Marr Chase is an absolute man-child. He's a freak, a super freak. He's a different breed. I think for my money, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. You know, him and JJ go back and forth, whatever the case may be. But the reason I've got Ja'Marr Chase number one is he's got the perfect situation. He's arguably the best receiver in the NFL. He's got arguably the best pocket passing quarterback in the NFL. And he's in the best offense, especially for fantasy in the NFL, especially through the passing game. So it's hard for me to put any receiver but Chase. He's got Burrow. He's an elite receiver. He gets crazy targets. His yak ability is crazy. I mean, he gets downfield looks, scores touchdowns. They put the ball in his hands, whether it's a short pass, intermediate, deep. I mean, this guy runs the full route tree. We don't have to go too deep into Ja'Marr Chase. Number two, I got Justin Jefferson. And honestly, I had him number three, but after the recent news with Jordan Addison missing 3 games, I bumped him up to number two, and that's ahead of CeeDee Lamb. We'll get to him in just one second. But Justin Jefferson, he's the second best receiver if you think Chase is number one. Second best receiver in the NFL for my money. The reason I got him behind Chase is because we don't know what J.J. McCarthy, kind of the same situation he was in last year. We didn't know about Sam Darnold, but we know Kevin O'Connell is an absolute offensive genius. This offense is still going to be one of the best in the NFL, and Justin Jefferson is a top 2 receiver in the league. He's going to get a bunch of targets, and with Jordan Addison missing the first 3 games, he could absolutely go nuclear. So moving on to number 3, like I said, I got CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb would have been number 2 if they hadn't traded for George Pickens, because his target share was going to be through the roof. But with Pickens now, his target share is going to drop a little bit, but he's still, it may not be the Bengals offense, but it's right there when they're clicking on all cylinders in terms of passing production. And we've seen CeeDee Lamb be the wide receiver 1 overall. We've seen Dak Prescott finish runner-up for the MVP. We've seen him be top 2 in the league in passing touchdowns. So this is an offense that I expect to pass the ball a ton. They have no running game to speak of whatsoever. Their defense is average to below average, some people believe. So they should be in shootouts. They should be passing a ton. And as long as CeeDee Lamb has a healthy Dak Prescott, he's top 3 for me. Now, number 4, I might be a little biased. I'm not going to lie. But I got my guy, Malik Nabers, man. Malik Nabers, he is another super freak. And you notice we got 3 LSU receivers in this top 4. But I got Malik Nabers, man. He is the definition of a target monster. This man averaged over 11 targets per game as a rookie. As a rookie, they still brought in no receiver talent to speak of whatsoever. He's going to be the only show in town. I mean, if he had a better quarterback, you could argue him to be number 1, to be quite honest with you. He's a top 5 talent at the position already after his rookie season. I tried telling people he was better than Marvin Harrison. We'll see. It was only a rookie year, but, man, it's hard for me to believe that there's more than 3 guys that you could put ahead of Malik Nabers in terms of talent, in terms of targets that he's going to get. And the offense might not be great, but he was a top 10 receiver last year, and the offense was absolutely horrible. He had, say it with me, cockapoo at quarterback. Now, this year he's got Russell Wilson. Say what you want about Russell Wilson. He's not cockapoo, and he can throw the deep ball. So Malik Nabers, number 4, no doubt about it. Now, number 5, I got Nico Collins. I did predict him to win Offensive Player of the Year maybe a few months ago. I kind of retract that at this point, but Nico Collins is a top 5 receiver, if not top 5 borderline. He's an absolute super freak. He's a monster. He's a stud. Especially, he's one of the most efficient. Him and A.J. Brown are some of the most efficient receivers in the league. They don't get a ton of targets, but the targets they do get, they make the absolute most of it, averaging over 3 yards per route run. I mean, these guys are just absolutely insanity. He's a deep ball guy. He's a contested catch guy. He's big, fast, strong, physical. And he's another guy who's the only show in town. They have no one else to speak of. Tank Dell probably going to miss most, if not the entire season. Stephon Diggs obviously in New England now. They drafted 2 rookie receivers. So Nico Collins might be a target monster this year. My only reservation why I can't have many higher, I don't believe in the Texans offensive line. So therefore, it's hard for me to believe in the Texans. Now, moving on to number 6, I got my boy Amon-Ra St. Brown, baby, the sun god. He might be the safest receiver outside of Chase, honestly. We know what we're getting. You know, he's not the big play guy, but he's a slot guy. He'll get his 10 targets a game. He'll score his 8 to 10, 12 touchdowns. He'll be in an elite offense, even without Ben Johnson. He's still the best receiver on this team, no doubt about it. He'll still continue to be a target monster. Jared Goff, say what you want about him. I saw the playoff game. I was there too. Say what you want about him, but he can support an elite high passing octane offense. So I got St. Brown, number 6. Now, number 7, I got Puka Nacua. And I think Puka Nacua is an absolute stud as well. He's an elite receiver in this league. And you're going to hear me say that a couple more times because, like I said, the receiver position is as deep as it's ever been, as talented as it's ever been. So Puka Nacua, another elite talent that we have who, fell through the cracks in the NFL draft, but he's proved over his first 2 years that he's absolutely a top 10 receiver in this league. He is elite. He's a target monster. He's a target hog. Get the ball in his hands and he can make something happen. Now, he's not the touchdown guy that some of these other guys are. He's not the red zone target that some of these other guys are, like Neighbors, Chase, Nico. But Puka is a guy who, man, he garners a lot of targets, and he's moved all over the formation as well. He plays outside. He plays in the slot. So he'll get favorable matchups. And I believe with Devontae Adams coming in, they'll stick Devontae Adams on the outside, force him to beat man coverage. So Puka will be moving all over the formation. So I really believe that this could be a monster year for Puka. I got him at number 7. Now, number 8, I got him a little higher than everybody else, bro. I love Michael Penix, bro. I love Michael Penix. I got Drake London. Drake London at number 8, bro. He's an absolute stud as well, bro. He's a receiver's receiver, man. He puts his hard hat on every week. He comes out and he just hoops, bro. And those last 3 games with Michael Penix, he put on an absolute show. I mean, he had 30 points against the Carolina Panthers' horrifically bad defense. And against my Commanders, I mean, I saw it firsthand. I saw what these guys did in the fourth quarter. So it's hard for me to believe that the combination of talent and opportunity this year, because Michael Penix was targeting Drake London out the wazoo. And with the banged up Darnell Mooney and with the Kyle Pitts who's not meeting expectations, it might end up becoming the Bijan Robinson and Drake London show. And if that's the case, Drake London's going to absolutely smash his ADP. He's going to the early second round. I'm taking all the Drake London I can get. Now, next is a guy, I got him higher than everyone else as well, but I can't buy into the Tyreek Hill downfall. I really can't. I got Tyreek Hill, number 9. He's a guy that we've seen his ceiling. We've seen him go for 1,700 yards. We've seen him be on pace for 2,000 yards. We've seen him be the number 1 overall player in all of fantasy, and now he's going at the 2-3 turn. He might be my most drafted player this year, and I understand that, he might have showed signs of slowing down last year. But I believe it was the whole entire offense, honestly. Obviously, Tua got hurt once again, and we got to bank on the health of Tua. But it's the same with all these guys. If Burrow goes down, if Dak goes down, then, their receivers aren't going to be as good as they should, even though they're elite talent. So Tyreek Hill, don't let last year fool you. Don't buy into all the narrative of he's washed, he's 30 years old, all this. Tyreek Hill, I believe, is going to be the steal of the first 3 rounds outside of Chase Brown at the running back position. But, man, Tyreek Hill's a guy I'm drafting everywhere I possibly can because the ceiling is just so much high. He has arguably the highest ceiling in all of fantasy. He's like the CMC of receivers, except he doesn't get hurt nearly as often. Now, moving on to number 10 is a guy who might be a top 5 receiver in the league. I probably got him number 4, and that's A.J. Brown. And I know A.J. Brown's in a run-heavy offense. They got Devonta Smith. They got Dallas Goedert. But A.J. Brown's target share last year was 30%, which means he's getting almost a third of their targets. And I understand they're not passing a lot. But when they are passing, it's A.J. Brown, someone else, A.J. Brown, someone else, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown gets a ton of targets in what is a very good offense as well. I know it's led by the rushing attack, but A.J. Brown's explosive. He's a guy that can turn a 5-yard slant into a 75-yard touchdown. I mean, he's one of the most efficient receivers. He can get 5 targets and get you 18 points in fantasy easily. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Devonta Smith. I know he's good. I think he's slightly overrated. Same with Dallas Goedert. But if this Eagles team has to pass a little bit more, their defense gets banged up, or knock on wood, Saquon gets hurt or anything like that, if they have to pass more, A.J. Brown could finish as a top 5 receiver, no doubt about it. Now, that was the top 10. Now, moving on to number 11, I got Brian Thomas Jr. And I honestly don't even want to put him here because I'm going to be on record. I flat out think Travis Hunter. If he played full-time receiver, is just a better receiver than Brian Thomas. I think he runs a more complete route tree. I think he's got much better ball skills. He's more explosive. He's a more fluid athlete. So I truly believe that right here today, as we sit here, that Travis Hunter is a better wide receiver than Brian Thomas Jr. But Brian Thomas did what he did last year. He had over 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, almost 90 catches as a rookie playing with some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL. So I got to have him as a wide receiver one. I'm not going to disrespect him or anything like that, but I can't have him ahead of those other 10 guys. And to be quite honest with you, there's a couple guys behind him that I could argue to be in front. And one of those guys is Ladd McConkey. And the reason is Ladd McConkey has an elite quarterback that we've already seen as elite. You know, whether Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman let him be elite and show off his passing prowess, probably not. But Ladd McConkey's another guy who's a target monster, especially down the stretch. In that playoff game against the Texans, he went absolutely bonkers. If he takes another step, and they didn't really do anything at the receiver position. I mean, Quentin Johnston is a certified bust. They brought in Trey Harris, fine. They brought back Keenan Allen, okay. I mean, this offense is going to be a lot similar to what it was last year. It's going to be a run-first offense. So I don't love Ladd at price, to be honest with you. Mid-second is a little too early for me, but he is my wide receiver 12, and it's hard to put him any higher. And it's also hard to drop him any lower. Trust me, I've tried. Coming in at number 13, just outside my wide receiver ones, is Garrett Wilson. Now, I have been on record that I think he'll finish top 5 in yards this year, so he'll probably finish better than the wide receiver 13 if that happens. But for fantasy, I don't see him scoring a bunch of touchdowns. I mean, do I truly believe that he could finish top 5 in yards? Yes, I do, and I think he will. But he's another guy like Malik Neighbors who's been an absolute target monster. No one, and I repeat, no one has had more targets in the history of the NFL through their first 3 seasons than Garrett Wilson. So we know he's an elite talent. He's a top 10 receiver in the league. It's really just all about Justin Fields. Do you believe in Justin Fields or not? I'm a Justin Fields guy. I like Justin Fields. Got Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 13, and I could easily see him finishing top 10 because he's going to finish top 5 in yards. Now, next, see, at this point, it gets so tricky. This is where it's like, pick a name out of a hat, man. Like, these guys are either, you know, they could be elite wide receiver 2s. They could be breakout candidates. We haven't seen it yet. They could be older guys that might be slowing down. This part of the wide receiver market is just a complete crapshoot. So you could reorder a lot of these guys is what I'm trying to say. But next, I got Marvin Harrison Jr., a guy that last year broke everyone's hearts if you took him in fantasy anywhere in the first round, early second. He was just an absolute bust for your fantasy team. But I still think he's an elite talent, one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in the last decade or so. He's still got, you know, talent. He's reportedly bulked up, 5 to 8, 10-ish pounds to get stronger. And he's a guy, he was, on the outside, he was good. It's just his catch rate wasn't very good. He got the targets. It's just, I don't believe in Kyler Murray. If I flat out, I don't believe in Kyler Murray. And that's probably the reason that Marv wasn't as good as he should have been last year. Kyler's not very good. The offense wasn't as good as it should have been. And what's crazy is a lot of people have this huge breakout for Marvin Harrison, but can anyone tell me what's changed about the situation? It's the exact same situation as last year. The same offensive staff that are probably going to use him the exact same quarterback, the same wide receiver core. Like, it's hard for me to see Marvin having this huge breakout season. So I got him at wide receiver 14, which seems kind of high, to be honest with you. But like I said, this is an absolute crapshoot. I'd say anybody between 13, 14, and 20 is pretty interchangeable for me. Now, next, I got a guy that I think is probably still too high, and that's T. Higgins, man. I love me some T. Higgins. T. Higgins won me a lot of money last year in my work league. Shout out to Higgins. But, man, it's just hard for me to believe that him going at the end of the second round, early third, is where I want to be taking him. Because first of all, we all know about T. Higgins. He's going to miss 3 games minimum. That's just what he does. Now, maybe now that he's got his contract, it'll be a little different. But historically, he's missed 3 games every single year. And then there's going to be a game or two where, he plays 20% of the snaps. He's questionable all week. And then you play him. And he plays a quarter, and then he's done. Like, he's going to have games like that as well. So I got to count that against him. Like, obviously, he's the wide receiver 2 on this team. He's got the best receiver in the NFL on his team. But this offense passes plenty enough for him to be good. I just don't know. I mean, he's going as a borderline wide receiver 1. I've got him wide receiver 15. Man, it just feels like we are drafting him at his absolute ceiling this year. That's why I have not been taking a lot of T. Higgins. The downside risk just outweighs the ceiling. I feel like last year was the absolute best he could be. I don't think he can get any better than that. Moving on into wide receiver 16, we got your boy Devontae Adams. Yes, sir, I got Devontae. I still think he's a top 15 talent, even at 31, 32 years old. I still think he's a top 15 receiver in the league. And with Puka Nacua now taking attention away from him, he's not going to be going against number one corners, or at least he shouldn't be. Man, Devontae Adams is going to absolutely eat against cornerback 2s and 3s. Man, I'm telling you, bro. Devontae Adams is in for a monster season. He's no Cooper Kupp. He's better than Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is a shell of his former self. Devontae Adams was on pace for 1,300 yards. If he would have only stayed with the Jets all season, he was on pace for 1,300 yards and would have been top 3 in yards. But obviously, he played for the Raiders where he had, say it with me, cockapoo at quarterback and couldn't really do much. But, you know, he had his games. He was cooking Pat Surtain at times. But, man, it's hard for me to see Devontae Adams not going absolutely nuclear with this Rams team. They're going to be a pass-first offense. Now, Stafford does have a back injury right now that we have to manage as if there's no Stafford. If it's Jimmy G, I'm out. I'm out on Puka. I'm out on everybody in this offense. So, please, Lord Jesus Christ, don't let it be Jimmy G. But if as long as it's Stafford, I don't know why Adams can't finish top 16 while Puka's top 10. Now, next I got Jackson Smith and Jigba. I got my boy JSN coming in at wide receiver 17. He's going to be a target monster too because who knows how many games Cooper Kupp is going to play. He's been banged up ever since he had that historic season where he won the Triple Crown. So I just don't believe in Sam Darnold, and Lord forbid, heaven to the mercy, heaven, Jalen Milroe has to start. I like Jalen Milroe as a fantasy quarterback, but to support a wide receiver 1, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And like I said, I don't believe in Sam Darnold. I don't love this offense. I think they're going to try to establish the run with Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. I think he'll be the number one target in this offense, obviously, because they have no one else. But his ADOT last year was like so low, it was almost negative. He never got downfield. He never ran any deep routes. And he's got arguably a quarterback downgrade. So it's hard for me to put him any higher than this. But this next guy, I have been a notorious hater of this man. And this is how you know I'm completely objective and I don't take feelings into account with any of these rankings or takes. Because I got my boy George Pickens next. And everybody knows I ain't no George Pickens fan. I've always thought he was overrated. People talking about, you know, he's a top 15 receiver. I said there's absolutely no chance he's a top 15 receiver. I've compared him to like a slightly better, more flashy Cortland Sutton as a wide receiver 1. But as a wide receiver 2, with Dak Prescott, I'm all over it. I've drafted him so many times in underdog. I just don't understand like why. I think he's like wide receiver 24 in ADP. I got him wide receiver 17, bro. I honestly believe that George Pickens is about to go nuclear, have the best season of his career. It's obviously by far the best quarterback he's ever played with, because let's say it together. He's been playing with cockapoo at quarterback, and he's never even had the opportunity to really show his talent. But with Dak Prescott, I truly believe he'll get a chance to show his talent, and he'll be a guy that won't only be boom bust. I think he'll be consistent. I think he'll consistently give you points. You can plug him in your lineup every week as a flex spot, and he'll give you some huge games where he goes for 100 yards and a touchdown or 2. And even in his down games, you know, he'll probably give you like 3 catches, 60, 70 yards. So George Pickens is a guy I'm all over at price because I think he can smash his ADP. Now, next is a guy who we're talking about smashing ADP. He might need to go to the slammer, and that's Rashee Rice. I love Rashee Rice. I took him last year in fantasy in the 4th round, and I thought through the first 2 or 3 weeks that I had an absolute league winner on my hand until Patrick Mahomes wanted to dolphin dive into this man's knee and tear, you know, his LCL or whatever it was. So Rashee Rice, you know, he's looking healthy. He's been practicing in full. He's been in training camp, no problem. The only thing now is the suspension. If he gets suspended, we just saw Jordan Addison get 3 games, and Rashee Rice was worse than what Jordan Addison did. So I've heard 5, I've heard 6. We'll just have to wait and see. But when Rashee Rice is on the field, tell me who's going to be getting more targets than him. He was a target monster last year. He doesn't need the ADOT. He's crazy yards after catch. He's going to be the number 1 target for Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce getting older. Xavier Worthy, a deep ball specialist. Hollywood Brown is an absolute shell of his former self. I mean, even D-Hop is gone, so there's plenty of targets for Rashee Rice to gobble up all season long. If he's, you know, if he can just not be suspended for 5, 6 games, he will smash his ADP for sure. He'll be even better than wide receiver 19, which is where I got him. Now, coming in at wide receiver 20, I got DJ Moore, man. I got DJ Moore. I believe in Caleb Williams. I really do. I think he's a great talent. You know, if you believe in Ben Johnson, I believe in Ben Johnson as an offensive mind, but I don't know if I believe in him as a head coach. But for fantasy, I 100% believe that DJ Moore can be a top 20 receiver easily. I know they got a lot of mouths to feed. They got, Colson Loveland was a top 10 pick. They drafted Luther Burden. They already had Rome Odunze, who was a top 10 pick in his own right. But the cream always rises to the top. And I believe DJ Moore is the best weapon on the perimeter that the team has. He's their best skill position player. And I think he'll be a guy that the Bears have to get the ball in his hand for them to have a chance to win. And I think his production will reflect that. So I got him top 20. Right in front of a rookie who I really, really believe in, and that is Tetairoa McMillan, the new wide receiver one for the Carolina Panthers. I think him and Bryce Young are going to go absolutely dummy. I think he is exactly what the doctor ordered. Now, the Carolina Panthers have been trying for the last couple of years to get Bryce Young a receiver. They obviously drafted Jonathan Mingo, didn't work out. Xavier Leggett didn't work out last year. Adam Thielen. I mean, when he's played, he's actually been pretty good, but he's old. He's been hurt. He's not a wide receiver one anymore, obviously. So Ted McMillan is the guy. He's going to come in. He's going to be the number one target. He's going to be the guy that they look to first, second, and third down. There's absolutely no reason why he can't come in and alpha everyone on this team and be their best skill position player and be a huge difference maker. There's just absolutely no reason. He's 6'5". He's a red zone monster. He's a goal line fade monster. And he's got a little wiggle to him. He can move. I mean, he's been comped to guys like Drake London. You already know how I feel about Drake London. Mike Evans, a guy we'll get to in a little bit. So if he's anything like that, he's going to be absolutely a steal in drafts because Bryce Young has no one else to throw to. The defense is awful. They're going to have to throw the ball, no question about it. Now, next, I know we just talked about Rashee Rice, but I got Xavier Worthy. Now, if Rashee Rice is suspended 4, 5, 6 games, then Xavier Worthy needs to move up these rankings because he came on at the second half of the season last year, and especially to the playoffs. Now, his rookie year as a whole didn't look great, especially for a first-round pick, but you got to remember, he's a deep ball specialist. He's obviously a field stretcher, a downfield attack assassin. He's a little more boom-bust than we would like. After his first game, he scored 2 touchdowns, and everybody thought, oh, we got a league winner on our hand. But no, the league winner wasn't Xavier Worthy. It was actually Rashee Rice again until Patrick Mahomes went off that team. But, Xavier Worthy is a guy that if Rashee Rice is going to miss time, he could be a target monster. I still don't believe in Hollywood Brown. Again, Kelsey's a year older. And then after that, it's Jalen Royals. And who? I don't know. So he's obviously explosive. Get the ball in his hands. He's the fastest guy in the NFL. And he's a guy that if this offense can get anywhere near as explosive as it once was back in Patrick Mahomes' prime, if you will, then Xavier Worthy might end up being a top 10 receiver if Rashee Rice is suspended. Now, moving on next, bro. Y'all know how I feel about my boy Bo Nix. I got to have Courtland Sutton here because he finished higher than this last year. He was a top 20 receiver last year. Now, he's not the flashiest name. He's not the sexiest. But he's just a guy, like I said about Drake London. He comes in, brings his hard hat, brings his lunchbox, and he goes to work. And he puts in work, and he goes home. Doesn't talk, not flashy, not a diva. And we love that. But he's going way too low in drafts right now. But, he doesn't have the craziest upside. He's got a really high floor, though, because outside of him, they don't really have anyone else that's a consistent target. Maybe Evan Ingram now, but, it's Courtland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin. Like, it should be Courtland Sutton first, second, third down, and then, sprinkle in a little Evan Ingram here or there. Now, next, man, it pains me so much to put my guy right here, man. This is my guy. I got his jersey in my bedroom as we speak. Boy, my guy, scary Terry McLaurin. I'm down on him this year, bro. And this is how you know I'm objective. I'm down on him. I really am. With all this contract hoopla going on, all this drama. He's not even he was holding out. Now he's holding in. He's at training camp, but he's not doing anything. He's just on the sideline signing jerseys and autographs. It's not a good look. The other receivers are looking good. I'm not saying that they're better than Terry or they're going to outperform Terry like Jalen Lane and Corey Brooks and Deebo Samuel, KJ Osborne, Michael Gallup, guys like that, Noah Brown, but they're getting chemistry with Jaden Daniels. And we saw last year with Brandon Ayuk when these star receivers and star players hold out, they get off to a slow start. We all remember how bad Ayuk was to start the season last year. And Terry's never been a guy that's been a huge target hog. He's never been a guy that's been high octane in yards. He's never hit 1,200 yards. Last year, he didn't even hit 1,100 in 17 games. if he doesn't score a bunch of touchdowns, I don't see him repeating his season. And now with this whole contract fiasco, I really believe he'll get off to a slow start. And I know his price has gone from, early third, mid third to now fourth, fifth round. It's still a struggle to click that draft button on Terry McLaurin. Now, next I got my boy Mike Evans, future Hall of Famer, 11 up, 11 down in terms of 1,000-yard seasons. I don't know if you guys watched the hot takes video, but I got Mike Evans not going for 1,000 yards this year. This will be the first year of his career where he has 999 yards or less. And I just think the young Bucks are coming. Jalen McMillan, Emeka Egbuka. Chris Godwin's not healthy, but I think they'll actually be a more run-heavy team this year than they were last year. Baker was one of the leaders in interceptions last year. Their defense was banged up. So if they can play defense and run the ball, that's always been the recipe for success in the NFL, is playing defense and running the ball. And Bucky Irving showed that he can be elite when it comes to running between the tackles. He can control the pace of the game. So I got Mike Evans at 25 because he's 32 years old. He hasn't shown huge signs of breaking down, but with the pieces around him getting better and this one looking like it wants to be a more run-heavy offense, I got him at 25. I don't think we got a wide receiver one season coming for Mike Evans. I really don't. Now, 26, I've heard this guy get some steam recently, and I'm kind of confused by it. I got Jameson Williams. I love me some J-Mo, but he's still just a deep ball specialist. He's a guy who doesn't get consistent targets. 1 week he'll get 7, and then he'll get 3, and then he'll hit on a deep ball 1 week, and then he won't. He's a very frustrating guy in redraft because you have to try to guess when his big games are going to be. And for me, that's not a guy that I want to put in my lineup. He has virtually no floor because, like I said, he's a deep ball specialist. He's a field stretcher. And if he's not hitting deep balls, he's really not doing much. And he's in a crowded offense with Gibbs and Monty and Laporta and Amon-Ra. So it's just hard for me to have him as a wide receiver 2. I got him as a high wide receiver 3. And honestly, he should be behind the next guy, and that's Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is going to be the number 1 wide receiver on his team, no question about it, because the number 2 targets are Nick Westbrook-Ikine is gone. Traylon Burks is gone. It's Tyler Lockett, Xavier Restrepo. I honestly don't know. He should be an absolute target monster. Calvin Ridley, when his unrealized air yards last year was absolutely insane. It led the entire NFL in yards. He had 1,000 yards receiving, and he had another 1,000 yards in unrealized air yards, meaning the quarterback threw the ball, but it was incomplete, and the dude was deep downfield. Cam Ward is 100% better than what they had at quarterback last year, because we all know, say it with me, it was cockapoo last year with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. It was cockapoo. It was horrible. And I'm not the biggest Cam Ward fan, to be quite honest with you, but he probably won't be cockapoo. He'll probably be better than Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. So Calvin Ridley is a guy who, in the mid-rounds, he might be the biggest upside play in all of fantasy when you get to those mid-rounds, those kind of nasty receivers. Man, Calvin Ridley is a guy who, if Cam Ward, he could be this year's Terry McLaurin, no question about it. Score some touchdowns, get some unrealized air yards. If this Titans offense can actually take a step, Brian Callahan gets this offense going, no doubt about it, Calvin Ridley can be a top 20 receiver. Now, next, I got Rome Odunze. I like me some Rome. I thought he was a little overrated as a prospect. He went top 10 nonetheless, though. But he's in a crowded offense. And, sometimes it's hard to guess who the guy is going to be. Is it going to be DJ Moore? Is it going to be Rome Odunze, Colson Loveland, Luton Burden? Is it going to be DeAndre Swift? I have no idea. But if it were my money, I'd say it was DJ Moore. That's why I got him at my wide receiver 20. Rome Odunze is still an elite talent when it comes to as a prospect. And I think he's better than Luther Burden, obviously. I think he's better than Colson Loveland as a receiving option. I can't have him above the guys in front of him that have either proved it already or have major upside, because obviously I'm not in the group that believes Rome Odunze could alpha DJ Moore. I'm not in that group whatsoever. I don't believe that's going to happen, not this year, but if you believe that, then he should be higher in these rankings. But I almost had this guy behind him in front of him, and that's Jalen Waddle. We've seen Jalen Waddle be a wide receiver 1 before. We've seen Jalen Waddle go for 1,400 yards. The only questions are, is he going to be healthy? Because he was banged up last year, even though he didn't miss games. Banged up all of last year. If you had him in fantasy or if you were a Dolphins fan, you know this dude was questionable. Every week, played and maybe he didn't play and he just wasn't effective, wasn't getting the target. The offense wasn't nearly the same. But if we can get Tua for a full 17 games, and if we can get Mike McDaniel to stop absolutely loving Jonnu Smith, who's gone, thank the good Lord, and Devon Achane, who he just wants to dump the ball to every other play, averaging over 6 receptions per game at the running back position, then Jalen Waddle could be in for a great season. And if you think that Tyreek Hill is cooked, over the hill, washed, or, whatever the case may be, then I don't know why you're not taking Jalen Waddle more. I mean, I got him at wide receiver 28, and that seems criminally low. It really does. Or actually 29, sorry. I got him wide receiver 29. Wide receiver 30 is Devonta Smith. And I've been known as a Devonta Smith hater, and I'm going to continue to be a Devonta Smith hater. Nothing against the guy personally. Like, I like the guy personally. I like his accent. I like his attitude. I like his mental fortitude. Being 144 pounds and being in the NFL at the receiver position is no easy task. Don't get me wrong. So I love me some Devonta Smith, the player. It's just I think he's slightly overrated. I think A.J. Brown's a top 5 receiver in the league. Obviously, they're going to be a run-heavy offense. So I can't take him as my wide receiver 2. I'd much rather have him as my wide receiver 3, guy who he feels like he doesn't have great weekly upside, to me at least. Now, I know he did have a few 20-point games last year, but he wasn't very consistent in my opinion. And he's a guy that I feel like every time you draft him, you wish you had more. And there's guys around him that have higher upside, in my opinion. And even behind him, and we'll get to some guys like that. Like right behind him, I got Travis Hunter, 31. If Travis Hunter is a full-time receiver, if Travis Hunter is going to play 70% of the offensive snaps, he should be top 20 easy, because I'm telling you, I think he's better than Brian Thomas right here, right now. I just have no idea how many snaps he's going to get on offense, no idea how many snaps he's going to get on defense. If you told me he was a full-time wide receiver, he's the best pick in fantasy, no question about it, because he's an elite talent, ball skills out the wazoo, route running chops aren't the best. That's what he probably needs to work on the most. But man, it's hard for me to believe that there's 30 guys I would take in front of Travis Hunter who's playing full-time wide receiver. Next, the guy that gets disrespected every single year. You see, he gets drafted late, and next year it's just same song, second verse with Jacoby Myers. And he got a huge quarterback upgrade, and I understand Brock Bowers is an absolute man-child of a super freak of a beast. But who else are they throwing to? They got second-round rookie Jack Besh and Ashton Genty. Hunter Renfrow ain't even there no more. So this is going to be like a 3-man offense. It's going to be the Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers show. And I'm telling you, Jacoby Myers, just like he does every year, he's going to surprise people. He's going to have 1,000 yards somehow, some way. He'll have more than your favorite receiver, your favorite breakout candidate. And he'll just be broccoli like he has been for the past couple of years. And he's going to be a guy I'm taking everywhere because he's disrespected year in and year out. Now, next, we got Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs is a guy that I have come around on. At the beginning of the offseason, I was not on Stefon Diggs whatsoever. I was like, bro, he's 32 years old, coming off an ACL injury where he wasn't getting downfield anymore. He was just in the slot running drags and short routes all day in Houston. I'm good. But then he went to the Patriots. And at first I thought the same thing. I'm good. I don't want none of that. But then I got to thinking, like, who else are they throwing to? Al Williams, bust Jalen Poe, bust Javon Baker. I don't know. But what I do know is they paid this guy way too much money as a 31, 32-year-old receiver coming off an ACL injury. So they know they need him. And they paid him money to make me believe that he's going to be a top target in the offense. And you could argue that maybe outside of Travion Henderson, he's their best skill position player. So he's a guy that's probably going to get targeted a bunch, have a high target share. I just don't think it's going to be a high-octane passing offense. I don't think the passing production is going to be out the wazoo. But the passing production that they do have, Stefon Diggs is probably going to have a nice chunk of that if he stays healthy and he gets back to – even his Houston stuff would be good enough. He doesn't even have to go back to his Bills or his Minnesota days. Just be as good as you were last year in Houston before the ACL tear, and you'll crush your ADP. Now, right here is a guy that I'm going to be honest, I forgot to even put on the list because that's how much I don't believe in him, and that's DK Metcalf, bro. I really don't believe in DK Metcalf. I thought he was one of the most overrated, if not flat out the most overrated wide receiver in the league for like the past 2 or 3 years. I understand, he's built like a Greek god. He was chiseled from rock. He looks like me in my prime. That's cool, fine, and dandy. But rock hard abs, huge pecs, and a bench press of 350 don't get me fantasy points. I could argue his situation is even worse than it was last year when he had a bunch of target competition. Because now He has none. But the thing is, it's one of the worst passing offenses in the league in terms of volume and in terms of, you know, efficiency. Now, I understand, he's got Aaron Rodgers now, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't as bad as people thought last year, but it's just hard for me to believe that this offense is going to be good enough for DK Metcalf to be as relevant in fantasy as people want him to be. He's literally been a top 24 wide receiver in points per game one time in his entire career, and I don't think this year is going to be number 2. Now, next, I got another guy that I think is just flat out overrated. And I'm not going to lie, we're going to get to a couple people that I just think is flat out overrated or flat out overrated situation or whatever the case may be. The next guy is Zay Flowers. I just think is a flat out talent. He's overrated. He's flat out overrated as a talent. I don't think he's a top 15, maybe not even top 20 receiver in the league. My issue with Zay Flowers is with all of the passing production that we've seen from Lamar Jackson. When Lamar first came in the league, he was not a very good passer. But over his career, he has turned himself into a darn good passer of the football. And last year, Lamar Jackson threw 41 touchdowns, and Zay Flowers did what? Like, what does Lamar have to do for Zay Flowers to be a wide receiver 1? Does he have to throw 60 touchdowns? Does he have to throw 5,000 yards? Because remember, this is still a run-first offense. This is still going to be a team that they led the league in rushing last year, over 3,000 yards. Wouldn't be surprised if it happened again. So you're already limiting his opportunity because you're rush first team. And then he's a guy that gets outproduced by Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman on some weeks. And then Mark Andrews is still a huge red zone target. So it's hard for me to believe in Zay Flowers this year. I just don't get the hype. Next is a guy, call him fat, call him out of shape, call him a tight end, a left tackle, whatever you want to call him. I got my guy, Deebo Samuel, and I honestly believe he's going to be a stud for us this year. I really, truly believe that. Now, do I think he's going to be a stud fantasy? I don't know. But this is what I do know. He's obviously a dual threat. We've seen him line up in the backfield. And last year, Washington's top 2 running backs, Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, both missed time. So if that trend repeats itself, and we've seen Brian Robinson miss time every year of his career, and Austin Eckler's plus 30 and went on IR last year, if those 2 miss games, Deebo could get more involved in the running game. Now, obviously, Jaden's going to be more of a threat running than Brock Purdy was and Jimmy G was when he was in San Fran, but he could get involved in the rushing attack. He's going to be involved. He's a guy that, just get the ball in his hands. He's still elite when he gets the ball in his hands, one of the best yak receivers in the league. This offense is one of the fastest, if not the fastest in the league in terms of the no huddle that they run, in terms of the plays per game that they get off. So this offense is built for Deebo. If he can't produce, get back to himself in this offense, and I'm not expecting him to get back to 2021 self, but if he can't get, back to being fantasy relevant in this offense, then he's just next. I got Jerry Jeudy, man. I thought Jerry Jeudy was going to be a difference maker coming out of the draft when he was coming out of Bama, but he's just been kind of a guy, and he's a mid wide receiver 1, if not lower tier wide receiver 1, to be quite honest with you. I honestly think that Jeudy is a guy you can draft, and throughout the first month or so, he might be a top 12 wide receiver just because of Joe Flacco, and he's a guy you can trade away. So he might outperform his ADP for the first month or so, and that's where you take advantage. Trade him, package him with someone else, get an elite receiver, an elite running back, tier up, do whatever you got to do. But season long, it's hard for me to believe in the Browns offense. No more Jameis. You can kiss that goodbye. It's over. He had his blip in the pan. If you had him last year, you're happy, but he's not a guy that anyone's expecting to repeat that season. That's why he's going so late in the draft. So Jerry Jeudy, I also believe in Cedric Tillman. I truly believe that Cedric Tillman may be the best receiver on this team. And he didn't end the season last year because he had a concussion. So if Cedric Tillman comes back, they still got David Njoku. We'll see with Quinshon Judkins, but they obviously got Dylan Sampson in the draft. I don't think Jeudy will end up being the target hog he was last year. I don't know if they'll be a pass happy. So I got Jeudy at 36 or 37, actually. I guess you guys will get 51 because I had to slap DK Metcalf in there. I completely left him off the list. Crazy word. But next, man, I got my guy Ricky Pearsall, Slicky Ricky, Sticky Ricky, whatever you want to call him. But he came on at the end of the season last year, man. He won me $2,000 on a parlay too when I made a parlay when they were playing the Lions. Got like 100 and something yards. He's a guy I believe in, and he's also a guy that I believe George Kittle is going to be this team's wide receiver 1, no question about it, because he's the most talented perimeter player that they have. With Deebo gone, Ayuk, who knows when he's coming back. Juwan Jennings, multiple calf injuries already before the season's even started. Pearsall's a guy that he could absolutely skyrocket up these rankings. I'm talking, got him at wide receiver 37. I could see him being in that J-Mo, Ridley, Rome, Waddle range where he's, wide receiver 25, 26, 27. Ricky Pearsall is a guy I'm taking shots on for sure. They got to pass to somebody. They have to pass to somebody. Like I said, Debo's gone. They got Ayuk hurt. Who knows if he'll even be good coming back from that ACL injury from last year. Jennings finally peaked as like a 28-year-old in his 5th year in the league. I don't believe in him. So Pearsall's a guy, man, that he could really break out this year. Now, next, I love the talent. I got to have Jordan Addison. Even with that 3-game suspension, man, he's going to come back. He's always been a guy who's scored touchdowns. He's been a double-digit touchdown guy both years of his career. He's a red zone target. And obviously, he'll never face cornerback ones because he's playing with arguably the best receiver in the league. He's one of the best offenses in the league. Kevin O'Connell is an offensive genius. He's a quarterback whisperer. So we'll see if J.J. McCarthy affects his fantasy production at all. But he's a guy that should still finish mid-20s, low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 when he comes back. So if you can stomach that 3-game suspension, Jordan Addison's a guy you should be taking. And I know there's a name that you haven't heard that everyone's probably freaking out about, and he's right here. I got Chris Olave, wide receiver 40. 40. And the reason is I don't believe in the Saints, bro. If you listen to the hot takes, I got the Saints going 0-17, and I truly believe that Alvin Kamara might catch 80 passes this year. I don't believe in Chris Olave. We all know about his unfortunate concussion history, his injury history. Shaheed started to step up last year and get targets. They obviously have absolutely no one else to throw to. It's Olave, it's Rashid, and then I literally don't know. Is Bub Means still on the team? I don't know. So they got no one else to throw to, and then it's Kamara, Kendre Miller, Devin Neal, Jawan Johnson, I guess, at tight end. I don't know if I've ever been. There's really no talent off this roster, and that's why I got them on 17. Then this man, I have Chris Olave. I truly believe that. I don't know if I've ever been more off a player. Next, I got Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings. He peaked last year. That was the best year of his career, and it took literally everything, almost literally everything breaking right for him. It took Brandon Ayuk breaking down and getting injured. It took Deebo Samuel breaking down, getting injured, pneumonia, getting fat, whatever you want to say. It took Ricky Pearsall getting shot and George Kittle being banged up and CMC playing 3 games for this man to finally break out and be fantasy relevant. It took all of that. Now, what are the odds of that happening again? Probably not very good. That's why I'm not as high on Jennings. And like I said, he's already had a calf injury or 2 before the season's even started. So I'm almost completely out on Jennings at price. Now, next is a guy, man, I love this man's talent. I really do. I'll take him on my team in a heartbeat. I really would. Josh Downs needs to get out of Indy, bro. He is absolutely a caged animal. He's a beast. But we'll never get to know that because he's playing for the absolute sorriest offense in the league in the Colts, with the sorriest quarterback group in the league in the Colts. 2 guys that want to run but can't throw. And it's just really unfortunate that his talents are being wasted. They need someone that can throw the football, but I just can't have him any higher when you're going to be either catching passes from Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. So I got Josh Downs right here, and that's right in front of Egbuka, who I got at 42. I love me some Egbuka, man. I really do. I think he could finish much, much higher than this. Like I said, I think he'll step up. Mike Evans won't have 1,000 yards. We'll see with Chris Godwin. And it's crazy because they are raving about Egbuka everywhere you turn down there in Florida, whether it's Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, a beat reporter, Chris Godwin, a coach. They're raving about his professionalism, his polish, how great of a route runner he is, how unselfish he is, his willingness to block, et cetera, et cetera. He might finish way higher than this, man. Egbuka is a guy I'm taking a lot. Now, these next 2 guys go hand in hand. I got Jaden Reed and I got Matthew Golden. I got Jaden Reed, man. This feels criminally low, but I know he broke a lot of hearts after week 1 last year. After week 1, league winning, chicken, dinner. But no, he just wasn't a target hog. And Jordan Love got injured after that first week, and he was never the same. He missed the next 2 games, and then it kind of lingered the entire season. And like I said, he wasn't the same. So Jaden Reed was not done any favors. They obviously got 15 different wide receiver 2s, and he looked like the wide receiver 1 for a second there. But this is a guy that is known to be a slot wide receiver, yet he's making big plays all the time. His ADOT is actually very high, especially for a slot wide receiver. Like I said, I don't believe in any of the other receivers on this team. I don't believe in Romeo Doubs outside of being a guy. I don't think Dontayvion Wicks is very good. He proved that last year. Christian Watson tore his ACL. He might miss most, if not all, of the season. And then they drafted Matthew Golden, who I don't believe in. So Jaden Reed got him right in front of Matthew Golden. Because even though I don't believe in him, obviously the Packers do. It was a weaker wide receiver class. He was a first-round pick, but his production at Texas doesn't scream difference maker. It doesn't scream elite in real life or fantasy. Honestly, the only thing I see is a fast guy who can stretch the field, a la J-Mo, a la Xavier Worthy. So for fantasy reasons, I'm out this year as a rookie, even though his price isn't very expensive. It's hard for me to believe that this guy who, couldn't even get 1,000 yards in college, couldn't even alpha guys like Isaiah Bond. It's hard for me to believe this guy's going to come and alpha Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and Romeo Doubs, even if I don't think those guys are great. Now, next is a guy who I love. I love me some Keon Coleman this year, man. I really do. Love the talent. I love the guy. He's super funny if you ever watch any of his interviews. I love his little accent. And he's a funny guy. And I think that might feed into a little bit of my bias because I want to root for the guy so bad. I might as well have Xavier Legette next because I feel the same way about him, but I got to keep it somewhat objective. So I got Keon Coleman. He's in an elite offense. Obviously, he's got an elite quarterback. And somebody has to be the wide receiver one. I believe truly that he is the best and most talented wide receiver on the team. He's a borderline first-round pick for a reason. And if for whatever reason they finally take him and put him in the slot and take Shakir out of the slot, which isn't going to happen because Shakir is very small. We'll get to him in a second, by the way. It's hard for me to see Keon Coleman really being better than this. They spread the ball out too much. There were even points where Dawson Knox, the backup tight end, looked fantasy relevant because they just spread the ball so much. People were picking up Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. It's absolutely insane. I got Coleman at 40, 46 because of DK Metcalf. So yeah, moving into the final 5 names, I got a guy who finished way higher than this, and he really reminds me of Jacoby Myers, so he could be up in that echelon, honestly. And that's Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney was winning weeks last year for sure before he got hurt, and he was legitimately right there with yards with Drake London. For a lot of the season, they were pacing each other. 1 week it'd be London, then Mooney, London, Mooney, London, Mooney. And he was hooping, bro. And the thing is, you know how I feel about Michael Penix. I love me some Michael Penix. And I think this passing offense could be elite straight up. And who do they have outside of Drake London? They need ancillary pieces to step up because Kyle Pitts has not lived up to the number 4 overall pick. Didn't help that he was taking 1 pick before Chase. I mean, Drake London's obviously a stud, but you need more than that. Bijan's Bijan. So they need someone else to step up. I mean, they got DJ Chark, Ray McLeod. Darnell Mooney's better than those guys, and he should be solid, especially where he's going. My only reservation now is I think he's banged up. He's got some type of injury right now. So monitor that. But if he's healthy come the season, he'll probably be one of the best picks you can make late in your draft. Now, next, I got that guy, Shakir. I got Khalil Shakir, who was one of the most consistent players in all of fantasy last year. He wasn't great. I think he only had 20 points 1 time, but this was a guy who you knew if you wanted consistency, if you wanted your little 12 to 15 points every week, Khalil Shakir is your guy, man. I know people that love consistency over boom bust winning your week. A guy, they would rather have a guy go for 13 every week than to give you, 8, 12, 15, 8, 19, 35, 7, 12, 5. Some people really value consistency. So if you value consistency, Shakir is your guy, no doubt about it. He should be higher in these rankings. But like I said, they spread the ball a lot. He doesn't have the most upside because he's not explosive, doesn't have a high A-dot. He's a slot receiver, but he's incredibly consistent. And if he can take another step in year 3, he might be better than his ADP. Now, the final 3 names I got, man, I got 3 crusty veterans who were injured last year, and no one believes them this year, including me. So I got Michael Pittman, Cooper Kupp, and Brandon Ayuk. Starting with Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman probably has the best case for this year, although he's got, say it with me now, cockapoo for quarterback. And I honestly, truly believe that Josh Downs is a better football player and a better wide receiver than him. He's somehow still their wide receiver 1, man. I don't know why, I don't know how, but he is. And although this offense feels crowded, they got Pittman, and then they got, Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, the most underrated wide receiver in the league, and Alec Pierce, and then they just brought in Tyler Warren on top of Jonathan Taylor and their rushing quarterback. Michael Pittman's still a guy. He gets a decent amount of targets. He doesn't have the biggest ADOT because, they already got 2 deep threats. But he literally had a broken back last year. He had a fracture in his back. So I'm going to cut him a little slack for last year. He could crush his ADP. I'm going to just say he could crush his ADP if he's healthy and if this offense is better than what we're doing. But I don't believe that. So I got him at like 49. Now, wide receiver 50, I got Cooper Kupp. Dusty old Cooper Kupp. Man, it was just a few years ago. This guy was the best pick in all of fantasy, where you're taking like the 4th, 5th round when Matthew Stafford got to LA, and this guy went on one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from the wide receiver position. We're far removed from that. He can't stay healthy. He's not the same. He's dusty old. He can't beat man coverage. Can't beat zone coverage the same, and he's in a much worse offense with a much worse quarterback, and he's not even the wide receiver 1 anymore. That's JSN. So hard for me to believe in Cooper Kupp this year. It really is. I'm not going to lie to you. And it's also really, really, really hard to believe in Brandon Ayuk, who's, I guess, wide receiver 51 since I forgot about DK Metcalf. Ayuk's coming off that torn ACL, and he wasn't very good before that. The last time we saw him, he just wasn't very good. And then he got injured. And now he's almost 30, if he's not 30 already. So it's almost impossible for me to see a scenario where Brandon Ayuk ends up paying off at ADP, where Ricky Pearsall and Jennings have both been in training camp, so they've got more, they're not going to be as rusty as him when he comes back. And we still don't know when he's coming back to play. Like, we don't forget that. We have no timetable on his return. And that's just absolutely wild, man. I can't believe it. Like, I would never. You couldn't pay me to draft this guy. Truly, you could not pay me to draft Brandon. And that rounds out my top 51 receivers for fantasy this year. Thank you for tuning in 100%. I know this was a longer video. Now, stay tuned. Now, if you made it, I will give you this little gem. We will be having our first guest on the pod in the next week or so. Already recorded the video, had it, just got to edit it, get it out, and all that good stuff, man. It's going to be a blast. Can't wait to get that out to you guys. So stay tuned for that, where we will be ranking NFL division with a special guest. You don't want to miss that one and everything going on here at Dudes in Love with Football, the DILF podcast. I'm your host, Durag D. Peace.